Well, Razorback fans, it looks like it's official. It's going to be the ultimate newest team in Razorback sports history. What does that mean? Well, let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I'm also the host of the John Nabors Show, which you can catch every weekday afternoon on Natty State Sports and nattystatesports.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. Game off. Got to talk more about Monopoly Go. This fast-paced game lets you team up with your friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go now for free on Google Play and the App Store. Game on. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend as we are kind of getting into a point of a lull, of the sports side of things, still waiting on some basketball news. And we'll talk some baseball news here in just a little bit and kind of look at the big picture for the Razorback baseball team overall. But I wanted to start off today's podcast in discussing something that Razorback fans are very aware of already, but kind of became pretty official from the Razorback basketball team with John Calipari in his first season about the newness of this team. We knew that the coaching staff was going to be overhauled. Nobody was really going to be remaining on staff, at least in the same capacity. That's still up to be determined. I know there are a few people that may remain on staff. It certainly seems like there's some questions being raised about it, and maybe it's not the case, but we'll still hold on to that. But either way, when you're talking about major high-level assistant coaches, none of it's remaining the same. It's all going to be different. And the other thing is, too, when you have this new coaching staff coming in for Razorback basketball, with Calipari and all the coaches that he's hired, we knew the roster was going to be a complete and total overhaul. Now, with this day and age at the transfer portal and everything, it's not out of the realm of normalcy. I mean, it's just the way it is. Sometimes for the sake of continuity, for the sake of pride, for the sake of wanting to keep things in perspective, I think a lot of people decide, we're just going to, have a few guys here that will make a difference and be able to be on the team from one year to the next and keep a little bit together, but the rest of them can be fine. Well, you're not even really going to have that. It's not surprising, but it's certainly getting closer to being made official, where the news came out about Caliph Battle had officially transferred to Gonzaga, which I have no problems with Caliph Battle. Wish him nothing but the best of luck. Hopefully he ends up being great there at Gonzaga. And obviously last week, the news of Trevin Brazile entering his name into the transfer portal, but also, being invited to the NBA draft combine. I'd be surprised if he comes back to college, but who knows? He's weighing his options. But I know it's not going to be at Arkansas. So basically laying it out that way and looking at, possibly maybe the walk-on situation, it certainly seems like now, so more than ever, it's officially a complete and total overhaul of a team. And I was trying to really put it in perspective from when it's been in previous years. If you think about in the beginning, since the beginning of sports, at least in the collegiate level, and just think about in your own lifetime, how many times have you seen a team and I'm talking about coaching staff and players all together, be completely and totally different top to bottom from one year to the next? I don't think that's ever happened in any sport. Now, obviously, some sports it's easier for that to happen. Basketball is definitely one of those sports it's easier to happen because you have less players than, say, football or even baseball. But still, the likelihood of stuff like this to happen is pretty rare. And when I started looking at the roster and seeing how it's formed, there's excitement for it. At the time of the recording of this podcast, they're still at 6 players that have committed, 3 high school kids and 3 transfer portal guys. They're still in the top of the top. They're still going to have great talent that's going to be on campus, like all of this stuff. But The thing is that I believe with what Arkansas has done and the approach they've had and the approach Calipari had, because I said from the beginning, I wanted him to do his thing. I wanted him to have his guys, nobody else's guys. If he wants players from last year's team, great. If he doesn't, that's fine too. But it's got to the point now where he's like, we're doing this whole thing brand spanking new. I mean, this team is going to be closer to a Kentucky of last season than what it's going to be of Arkansas. And it's not a bad thing, don't get me wrong. It's just unique. Because we have kind of been taught, or at least we've kind of felt like, as fans, as people who cover the team and watch these teams, that continuity does matter. Holdover does matter. We see it in a lot of cases with not only players, but in some cases even coaches. I mean, you think back when Sam Pittman got hired, he had holdovers from the previous coaching staff. Chad Morris kind of did the same thing. Brett Bielema, I don't know if he actually did that with the coaching staff. I don't believe he did. But Petrino did that. Remember, Tim Horton was one of the holdovers from the previous regime. But we see it happen with coaches, but it's not happening really here with the coaching staff. And then the players we all know is an overhaul. So that's what makes it so unique. I mean, imagine in a way, you're starting a brand new program. I mean, I'm not trying to compare it to like getting a death penalty from 1 year and then having to start fresh, or just starting a completely new sport that you've never had before, because obviously Arkansas's got the facilities and they got everything. They got the support, they got the money, they got all of that. But when it comes to the personnel, when it comes to the people that are actually going to be on the court and the ones that are going to be the ones that matter the most, it's really eye-opening. Thinking about how, this team is a brand new program. It's truly a brand new era. And going back to the whole idea of having some continuity, I think it always sounds really good in theory. I think it's always a really good idea in theory. But I also believe that there are times in the way that college sports are being ran, and especially college basketball being ran, that it's not near as important as what maybe it used to be. Because if you really think about it, what would a player from this last year's team really give you, other than just being, if it's a talented player, or just, it can just be a general player. But if you're John Calipari and you're putting together an assortment of talent that has never really been seen before, like, what would be the value of bringing in a player from who was on the team the previous year? I don't see it. I don't see any of the value. I see it as a guy who knows what he wants and knows the type of team he wants, and he's going out and getting them. And so it's going to be so weird seeing that. Getting used to new names. And you kind of felt like that was like that anyways every year, but truly new names, new guys that we've never even talked about, never even heard of. And we're just going to have to make do and make sense out of it. But I still can't wait to see where Cal goes next with the transfer portal. I know there's still some guys that are in the mix. I know we'll probably be talking about it a little bit more as this week goes on too and discussing it, but it's going to be interesting to see how all of that plays out. We're going to talk about baseball, which I know people are really interested in getting to here in just a bit. But I got to tell you, when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for your role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals that you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively looking for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hiring professionals like a professional, you do it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats right now, and they may not have all the time and the resources to do the hiring, but LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. And they even launched a feature that helps you write the job descriptions and making the process even easier and quicker. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. It's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Razorback Baseball dropped a series against Kentucky on the road. Kentucky being one of the better teams in the SEC this year, much to a lot of people's surprise. But Arkansas was unable to get that series victory. That's their second series that they've dropped so far this year, the other one being on the road to Alabama. And now, we'll talk about the future a little bit. Let's talk about this actual series in general, because Arkansas now has dropped to 40-9 overall, 17-7 in conference play, and they are officially tied for the overall SEC regular season with Tennessee, who's also 17-7. And Kentucky's sole first place, 18-6. Luckily for Arkansas, Texas A&M actually lost the series to LSU over the weekend. They dropped to 16-8. So Arkansas still leading the way in the SEC West, but still have to play the number 2 and the number 3 teams in the SEC West with A&M at the end of the season and Mississippi State here this weekend and Fayetteville. So got to step up, got to find ways. And it was, if you were watching these games, it was a pretty frustrating game, for a few frustrating games, especially the final two. Now, you won the first game in really good fashion. It was a really good overall game. One of the better overall games Arkansas actually put forth, both offensively, defensively, and with pitching. And so you felt like you got out on the right foot. Arkansas won game 1 10-3, nearly run-ruled Kentucky, as Arkansas was able to just blow the doors open in the 7th inning and get 6 runs in that game and never really look back. Hagen Smith was once again phenomenal. It's another day at the office for Hagen Smith. 6 innings pitched, gave up 3 hits, 1 run, and had 14 strikeouts on 101 pitches. And what was also crazy is he had 31 whiffs. So for those of you who may not know what it means, at least from my understanding, I'm not a baseball guy, but we're talking about strikes that the batter swung and missed. Not ones that got a foul tip, not anything like that. Just a great performance out of him. Will McIntyre comes in, does a good job. Dylan Carter comes in for the final inning, getting some run, and handles his business. Stovall had a great day and a great weekend overall from the plate. Aloy definitely struggled as he went 0 for 6 in game 1, but it was a great return for Kendall Diggs. Kendall Diggs had 2 doubles in the game, and Hudson White had a great game too. So just overall, you felt really good. I was like, okay. There it is. You got it going on now. You feel good. You look good. It looks like it might all come to fruition. You just got to win one of the next 2. Well, unfortunately for Arkansas, it didn't happen because in game 2, they almost flipped the score completely and lost 11-3 in this one. A struggle at the plate seems like a tale as old as time. By the way, Arkansas left 11 runners on base in game 1. They left 9 in game 2. And in the beginning, it was fine, but then a 4th inning, 4-run deal was what really cinched it for Kentucky, and then they had another 4-run inning in the 8th inning. Brady Tigert, you look at his stat line, it wasn't that great. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 5 earned runs, only 2 strikeouts on 66 pitches. So it wasn't the best stuff out of Brady, but then, if we want to say consolation prize or whatever it is, Gage Wood comes in. And Gage Wood has a great outing. I mean, for all intents and purposes and what he was up against. He went for a little over 4 innings, gave up 3 hits and 3 runs, but held it in check there for the most part. And, kind of what you want to see out of him, he's continuing to grow. But you just couldn't get anything from the plate. Stovall was good, had 2 hits. But that was about it. I mean, you had Hudson White with a hit. You had Lovich with a hit. You had Diggs with a hit. Aloy with a hit. Larkin with a hit, and Sprague-Lott with a hit. A lot of guys that just won hits, but unable to really get anything going. And Kentucky was just able to tee off. So led it to a rubber match. We haven't had very many of those this year. And that game transpired, of course, on Sunday, and kind of felt like it was the same type of deal. Arkansas lost 7-4. Not as high scoring as this one, but just some mistakes, some errors. Some weird stuff happening. Peyton Holtz getting ball jumps out of his glove in the beginning, just bad mojo. Peyton Stovall again had a great weekend. In this game, he went 3 for 5 with 3 runs scored. So I mean, he was really holding it all together. But got a hit from Malloy, a hit from Diggs. Hudson White went 2 for 3. And that was it. Molina had 3 hits, 3 earned runs on 67 pitches. Will McIntyre just got teed off on when he came into the game. He threw 14 pitches and gave up 3 hits and 3 runs. Fouch comes in, does okay, but then Gabe Gack will close out fairly strong. But it didn't really matter in the end because you can't win if you can't score the runs. And like I said, Arkansas had 11 runners left on base. The offense was not consistent enough, and it was really frustrating of a game. And really frustrating of a series. You got to tip your cap to Kentucky, which, you know what? You tip your hat to Kentucky, but at the same time, I was like, seeing that crowd, like this is a top 10 matchup between arguably 2, if not the 2 best teams in the SEC. And their attendance was so abysmally sad and pathetic, almost as bad as their field. It's just like, wow. And it kind of shows you that Kentucky I guess they're not big on the baseball thing. But I was extremely disappointed with that. Like, there was so many empty seats, and it was so sad, but I guess they don't really care. It's whatever. But either way, it's a downer for Arkansas, but I want to talk about big picture and asking the question of, does this change people's minds, or should it change people's minds for the team, and if they're going to make it to the World Series and win it all? Well, we'll talk about that here in just a second. But, folks, I got to tell you about Monopoly Go. Game off. We got to pause here and talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You already talked about this. But there's so much fun stuff to do in this game. Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much more to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel boards with. Hilarious emojis taunting friends when you smash their buildings and their heist vaults and everything. And with Monopoly Go, it feels like a new and exciting everyday deal with that constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include unique mini games and like digging for treasure and a robot Panchenko machine. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, folks, so the question becomes, for Arkansas baseball, can this team win the World Series? Well, let me just say this too, folks, and I'm not talking to all the fans, just a few of you, but it gets really annoying. Like, I'm not saying you can't be critical, because I'm critical. I'm critical of the hitting. I'm critical of the, some of the decisions. Like, that's fine. But when Arkansas lost this series, there was legitimate, not trolls, legitimate Razorback fans tweeting at me about this team ain't it. They don't got it. They're trash. They're cooked. Bye-bye to a national seed. And I just want to say, shut the you-know-what up. Like, I just get so sick of that stuff. Holy crap, y'all. It's baseball, my friends. Vanderbilt lost to Georgia over the weekend. A&M lost to LSU over the weekend. Chill out. Okay? You can be critical. You can have concerns. But to act like a team that's sitting at 40-7, okay? 40-7. 40-9. 2 losses got added in. 17-7 in conference play. leading the West, and one game outside of leading the SEC with 2 series left to go. Those of you who are acting like the world is coming to an end need to just legitimately shut up. Okay? I don't give a rip about winning the regular season of the SEC. Sure, it's a feather in the cap. Who cares? I care about getting to a national seed. That's what I care about. And right now, Arkansas is a national seed, 100%. They just lost to one of the best teams in the SEC. And I'm just going to make a prediction here. Maybe I'm wrong. But Arkansas was number 2 over the weekend. They're going to drop, I would say, especially with the A&M thing and everything, probably no further than number 4 or 5. Okay? Still for a national seed. They got 2 series left, both of them extremely difficult too. But I believe as long as you win one of those series and you avoid getting swept, you go, what would that put you at? Just go 3-3, essentially, in the final 6 games. You're a national seed. That's all I care about. We know that nobody wants to be number 1 seed. So why? So who cares? All right? Yes, this team can still win the World Series. They have the pitching. They got the pitching. They got the players. They got what they need. But they still need work, and they still aren't perfect, and they're still going to make mistakes, and there's still going to be weird baseball games that happen. But I don't understand why anybody is really just throwing in the towel and thinking that this team's cooked. Winning a College World Series is extremely difficult. I'm not predicting Arkansas. I'm not calling my shot right now, but okay, this team's going to win the World Series. I'm not saying that. But what folks, really, truly, what is the difference between Arkansas being a 3 seed or a 7 seed? You think like, oh, well, about matchups and everything. It hadn't done Arkansas any favors before because usually when they've been a high seed, they've gotten screwed. They've not gotten great matchups. Yes, I want to win every game too. Yes, I want to talk trash to other fan bases. Yes, you want to have it going on. Yes, all of that. But losing 1 series on the road to one of the best teams, not only in the SEC, but in the country, they're throwing in the towel. Shut up. Just enjoy it. We can complain. We can analyze. We can do all that when the season comes to an end on where the failures were and why this team is cooked or where it went wrong, whatever. But I just have a hard time throwing my hands up in frustrations and screaming to the hilltops about how trash this team is when they're sitting at 40-9, leading the SEC West with 2 series left to go. Some of y'all kill me. Absolutely kill me. Appreciate everybody listening in to the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. We'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel. Tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.